When I'm taking better care of my body and my mind, I actually have an easier time being more on point. I have more energy. I have more focus to be able to apply into this schedule. A lot of people drop the workout routine because they're like, I don't have time to do that right now. I got to figure out this schedule. If you can take care of your mind and your body and your health over here, by the way, these things all become easier down here.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. I'm Matt Benelli, he's Garrett Fry, and you are you, and we are so excited you are here with us. Before we dive into today's episode, guys, if you like these episodes, if you've been enjoying the content that we've been putting out since June, and then in our prior platform before that, we would love to welcome you into our community, our Life at 10 Tenths community. We have a starter membership in there for $10 a month. You get mindset videos, book insights, access to Garrett and myself, our announcements and everything. And it's just kind of a place where we get to put a little bit of extra content for all of our wonderful podcast listeners. So if you are interested in supporting us there, we'd love to see you there. Just go to lifeat10tenths.com to check that out. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Garrett, good morning, sir. How are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited to spend some more time with you. And, Matt, I can't tell you how much I love our time that we get to do these podcasts together. So let's jump right in. You brought a topic to this one, which I think is really good that we should spend. It's a good time of the year right now, as everybody are probably taking their business plans and they're looking at all the things they got to do and all the goals they want to accomplish and all the things they have in front of them. And they're having one of those moments where they're going, oh, crap.
There's too much to do. Yeah. And this will probably be a quicker episode. You guys are going to get some like, hey, here's something that you can do right now to help kind of improve your workflow. And this, whether you have a business plan created or not, this is going to be helpful. And this is something we talk about in our business planning process, Garrett, but we didn't dive super deep into it. We built the framework around it. But essentially what we're talking about is a lot of people enter the year with a lot of goals. And you take all the resources that you have and you say, all right, cool, I'm going to allocate this much to this goal, this much to that goal, this much to this goal over here. And we start to spread ourselves out and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing so many things. And this is, I think there's a couple of reasons why I think people don't follow through with certain goals, Garrett. But this is one of those elements from a business standpoint that I think also stagnates people, or they might have like a moderately successful year. They're like, okay, I kind of did kind of good, but like I was really having trouble figuring out what I should do to really drive the ultimate goal, which maybe it's growth in the business or more time away from the business while making the same amount of money. And this is where we get into some prioritization, Garrett, and we say, okay, well, how do we create the hierarchy of these goals so that we are focused on the most important thing first? And this is, we get to work one-on-one with a lot of people on this one, Garrett.
We definitely do. And I think what's interesting is that, I was introduced to this kind of like being overwhelmed sometimes by all the things that we have in front of us, just around simple checklists and to-do lists that I've watched people grow over the years, Matt. And you put down all these things that you have as this is all the stuff I've got to do today. This is all the stuff I got to do this week. These are all the items in front of me. And I remember one time somebody said, a lot of times you can take the top priority pieces in there, the top parts of that checklist or the to-do list. And if you get those done, all of a sudden the other ones just fall into place, or all of a sudden the other pieces just kind of either get taken care of sometimes, even inside of these other items you're taking care of. And it's like, well, what an interesting process, because you can step back and you can get overwhelmed by the whole thing. Or you can sit back and say, okay, no. Which are the most important ones in here? The ones that really need my attention, the ones that really need my focus. And then ask yourself, will some of these other things just happen if I get these things done? And I think more often than not, Matt, that is the case. I've watched it happen in my own life, and I've watched it happen with the people that I coach, where it's like, stop trying to focus on everything. And I know there's a lot of big goals roaming around in people's heads right now. So just for fun, there's one that's roaming around in my head here where a lot of people have a lot of health goals going into this year.
Sure.
And then a lot of people have a lot of goals about how they're showing up to their schedule and their routines that they've put into their world about how they're going to show up for their business. And a lot of times people look at that as two totally separate things. I've got my health goals over here, and I'm going to be focused on getting my health in alignment. And I've got this schedule that I'm going to be keeping. I'm really got to stay regimented with the schedule that I've put in place and all these things that I have here. And the interesting thing is that I can sit there and focus on those as two totally separate things, but I can also know that when I'm taking better care of my body and my mind, I actually have an easier time being more on point. I have more energy. I have more focus to be able to apply into this schedule. A lot of people drop the workout routine because they're like, I don't have time to do that right now. I got to figure out this schedule. And then we get caught up in all this stuff over here going, gosh, I just keep kind of falling down on these things. It's like, oh my gosh, if you can take care of your mind and your body and your health over here, by the way, these things all become easier down here. I can show up better. My energy's better. I can stay up later maybe and work on some of that stuff because I've just got the energy there to be able to do it. That's the workout, and the taking care of yourself is actually more important than the other side down here. Not saying don't do the other stuff, but you will have a better chance of getting that done if you take care of that. That's the one you got to figure out, is like, that's the route that I need to focus on to make that stuff happen.
Yeah, and if you move into the routine side, it's like, man, I'm not being able to get going with my business in the morning. It's like, okay, well, let's analyze, like, when are we going to bed? When are we waking up? And it's like, well, if I just got up at 6 a.m. and worked out, I'd actually be up, have the energy, be fueled, and then I can actually start my workday at a normal time if I was focused on doing that one thing there. And definitely all the added benefits. You know how much I'm a big advocate of obviously being as healthy as we possibly can to then fuel ourselves for our business. But even if we pick up off of our last episode, we were talking about getting to the root of success. Yep. And we kind of use this example of somebody struggling with their buyer processing, like, oh, I need that better buyer packet. And so you're saying, hey, I have all these goals. Like, I need a better buyer packet. I need to redo my pre-listing packet. I need to attract more buyer leads, and I need to communicate with my people more often. It's like, okay, out of all of those things, which one would make everything else easier? Well, if I just communicated with my people more often and focused only on that, I'd probably generate more buyer leads and more buyer opportunities, which will give me more reps to increase my skills in my buyer process. And I might find I don't even need a new buyer packet. So that one goal that we had set all of a sudden can be eliminated by doing this other thing over here. Instead of dividing our time and energy among all of these things, let's just focus on this thing that will drive that. And that's where we get into the goal stacking. And we even talked about it in our process, Garrett, when we were going through our business planning, in the goal breakdown sheet of when you look at the time frame of that specific goal. If you take that and say, does this need to be stacked on something else? Does this need to come after something else? And it was something that we gave some time and attention to, and I want people to go back and look at it even deeper, because I think the easy answer there is like, oh, well, this goal happens during this time frame. But the harder, and maybe the harder answer, just the more comprehensive answer would be to say, does this goal fit within something else that can take care of it for me? Or is it something that I should just put over here and wait and not even worry about the hierarchy of all these things? Because if I have goals 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, if I know that goal 1 is the priority, I don't care what order 2, 3, 4, and 5 happen in yet, because I'm just going to focus on getting 1 done. And then I'll look at 2, 3, 4, and 5 and see what priority order those things come into. And that's where you can look at those things like, cool, I still got, if you've already done the work on figuring out how to do that next goal, it's going to be so much easier to flow from one to the next if you're putting your time and attention. So this quarter, I would challenge people, this 90 days, identify what is the thing that's going to really drive a lot of other things in your business, and how can you allocate most, if not all, of your energy. I mean, it's not going to be all, I get it, but most of the energy that maybe you're dedicating to some things that can wait into that activity, because that's going to drive a lot more success for you, Garrett. I mean, we see this a lot too, usually kind of mid second quarter, where people start to kind of deviate their focus, right? And they're kind of moving away from that thing that's working because they get bored. Yep. And that's a tough thing. So there's a mental component here too, Garrett, that people need to address when they're looking at this stuff, because it can kind of feel weird being like, well, I need to focus on these goals, don't I? But do you really?
Well, it's funny. Focusing on the goals isn't going to make the goals happen. Let's just be really clear on that. I mean, yes, it will bring awareness to it. Yes, your subconscious mind will work. I mean, there's people out there going like, but wait, Garrett, hold on a second. That goes against everything. Yes, I believe focusing on the goal is a very, very, very important piece. You have to know where you're going. it's the actions that's going to get you there. That is the actually most important part, is what are the actions and how am I showing up? I can focus on a weight that I want to be on all day long, but if I'm not paying attention to what I'm putting into my body every single day, it doesn't make a damn difference. I need to pay attention to that. I need to pay attention to the exercise that I'm putting in and all that type of stuff. And the goal is the byproduct of the actions that I have going on. So I think, Matt, where you started to go down, which I thought was it was great when especially before we started talking, you started talking about the goals and the business planning. And we got to introduce our goal breakdown sheets into this year's business plan, which, by the way, if any of you haven't gone, and if you're either sitting here without a business plan, or if you're like, I don't need a whole business plan, but I would love a better way to break down my goals, you can go into our community. You can grab our business plan in there. It is there. And you can go through that. And these goal breakdowns, what you do is you put your goal at the top, and then we have a section there of what's called could-dos. And it's all the could-dos that could make that thing come together. It's like all the aspects of it. You may have 20, 25, 30 things you write down of could-dos there, and then you get to pick a small handful of them that you're like, these are the could-dos that I'm now going to focus on to make that goal come to be. One thing I'm going to look forward to in next year's business planning, and I'm going to be doing with all my one-on-one people, especially as we're sitting here having this conversation, Matt, is taking all the goals and putting them side by side, all those sheets of paper, and sitting there and going, what are the common could-dos? What is the common one that showed up from this one to this one to this one? Oh, these are all my action items that if I do that one action item, that actually affects 8 of my 10 goals. Oh, that's where I need to put my focus on this week or today. This one affects all these goals down here. Ooh, that's an important one. And we used to do this when I built the old business plan, Matt, the one we used to use, if anybody remembers that one. That was a piece I used to tell people at the end of every year, look for the common pieces that show up throughout this, the common threads, because that's the most important stuff. And in our new business plan, that's where they're going to find it. They're going to take those sheets and look at it and go, these are the common things. And when I take care of this one thing, it actually affects all of this outcome.
Yeah. It was interesting, Garrett. I was going through the goal breakdown worksheet myself over the holiday break. And with this one goal, I was getting into the 3 priority actions that I was going to set standards on. And I was like, man, but if I just do this one, like I just do this one right here, like I don't even need to do these other 2. Like I just do this one. And it's like, and let me break down this one even further. And then here's the little standards that are associated with this one thing here. And it's amazing when you start to give it that thing. I didn't even get to the prioritization yet because I was like, well, I'm just going to eliminate these things. And because it can cascade, and we tend to overload ourselves, I think, because it seems cool to do, right? Like it's fun to say, look at all the stuff that I'm doing, right? And this gives me more things to talk about, more things to post about. And it's like, well, but people value consistency, right? People value commitment, but they value consistency. And you can practice consistency by showing up for yourself with those, by prioritizing your actions and being like, this is the one thing I'm going to be consistent on this month, this 60 days, these 90 days, and it's going to showcase the results here as it comes along, right? And with this business, we're already doing so many things because you do need to do showings. You're doing listing consultations. You're doing customer service calls every week. You're doing your marketing, right? You're already doing so many things. So why are you putting so much more on your plate at the same time when if we stage it out, it either takes care of itself or we find, hey, I don't need to redo that buyer packet because it maybe took care of itself, or it was fine the way it is. I just needed to resolve this problem over here, and we're good to go, Garrett.
Yeah, I think when you latch on, like you keep bringing up the buyer's pack, and I've watched people like make that be the thing that's stopping them from moving forward. And I think that's where, like, when I started to think about the goal pieces of it is like, say, instead of the things that are stopping us from being successful, let's look at the small actions we could be taking every single day. Because for a lot of times what I find, it's the small actions every single day, consistent actions that make the big results. It's not that one thing. It's not the one business packet. It's a buyer's packet. It's not the one listing presentation. It's not that one thing. It is a lot of the little stuff being done consistent. And it's like, we all know it. When we get into a good pattern of going to bed early and getting a great night's sleep and eating right, like in talking to Justin here just recently, I think it was Justin, there was another conversation I had, because I actually have a health coach kind of roaming on the side for me right now. And we were talking about just not eating right before you go to bed, 3 hours before you go to bed. That has been ringing in my mind. And I've been sitting there going like, oh my gosh, how many times my world is it 9 o'clock at night and we're finally making dinner? When your kids are 20 and 17 years old and they're still at home and like we're all living our lives and our craziness, and it's like all of a sudden we're all looking at each other going like, we should probably eat tonight. That would be a good idea. And we usually make dinner at home. I cook 90% of the time at our house, but we're eating all together at 9 o'clock at night. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is a bad habit. Like this bad habit produces bad sleep for all of us. Well, they actually go to bed later. They probably get the 3 hours before they actually
good. The kids are good.
go to sleep. I'm the one who's like eating, going like, I'm out, guys. Good luck. Like, see you in the morning. But I'm the one who's actually getting the crap sleep because of all the food I just put into my body. And you start to look at these little things of going like, how does this affect us? Mm-hmm. And I think that you start setting goals around these things and say, well, what is a goal that I can consistently do? By the way, I can make dinner at 6 o'clock at night. Totally can be done as long as I have a plan and I focus on it. How does that affect all these other goals that I have set for myself? Because when I eat a little bit earlier, if that was the goal that I focus on, the one little piece, now I get a better night's sleep. Now I'm better for all of you when I wake up in the morning at the crack of dawn to record a podcast. Nobody knows I'm up at 5 o'clock to make these things happen. But like all of that stuff just starts to stack on top of each other to get the better results of our podcast, to get the better results for our coaching, to get the better results that I show for the coaching clients that I get to work with one-on-one. Like all these elements start to build upon ourselves. And you start to look at that and say, well, what else does my world benefit from when I get a better night's sleep? What else happens when we just eat a little bit earlier and I'm just on top of that? And I think that this goes back to finding those common elements in all these goals that you have. And I'm so happy you brought this up, Matt, before we were talking. And I think you're saying you were listening to Alex Hormozy, or you caught something from him.
Yeah.
That was like, instead of getting stuck on all these big goals, what are all the common pieces that make these goals come together so you're not getting overwhelmed by all of this? And I think it's a really clear, actionable point for you to step back and look at your stuff right now, especially if you're getting overwhelmed. Yeah. Especially if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, like, because this is the moment, Matt, where we watch everybody in about a couple weeks not look at their business plan until the end of the year. We're right in that window right now.
We are. And this is where I think people are also getting a little bit of shiny object, right? What's working, what's not? Should I bring in something new? And I look at this too from the goal standpoint, particularly if you're looking at marketing or even just outbound actions, is people will say, well, I'm going to do all these things because all these things can produce results. It's like, okay, well, which one of those things will produce the best results for you? Which one will open up the most conversations for you? Just do that one. Take the resources you're going to put over to this second one that maybe would work 60% as well, and just take all those resources and put it into this one for now until that's exhausted. Yes, it could be boring maybe. And you have to balance this with also, well, what are your lifestyle goals? Because if that one thing is you making outbound calls and you're like, I just don't want to do that for that many hours a day. All right, cool. What is the most amount of hours you're willing to do that? And then pull the remaining resources into the other thing, right? Or how could you use the money resources from this to supercharge that for yourself, right? Or if it's, I'm going to put some money into this farm campaign over here, into my SOI over here. And this is a conversation, Garrett, that we have all the time with our clients. Like, all right, cool. What is the cost analysis from if you took that money from or the opportunity cost, I should say, if you took that money from the farm and just deployed it into your sphere, just put all of your marketing dollars into that. What would that produce for you? It's like, yeah, but I want to develop it usually comes down to an ego thing with a lot of these things, but I want to do this. It's like, all right, cool, awesome. But do you want that more than you want the results for your business? Now, if putting all the money in this sphere you think isn't going to work, that's a whole different thing. But don't just kind of spread it all out because you think you need to have it all spread out right now. Right now, you don't. Right now, you need to be focused. And that's why you built a business plan. That's why you're following a path. That's why you have daily actions. That's why you build your calendar. That's why you do these things so that you have focus. So don't let your goals take your focus away. Focus on a goal so that more of your goals can be accomplished. That's ultimately what's going to happen at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's a saying somewhere out there, eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
And that's really what you're talking about. Just focus on the ones that you can take care of right now, get them going, get moving forward. And that's the biggest thing is forward momentum.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is have yourself pull the handbrake and just be like, I can't do any of this right now. That's the worst thing you could possibly have happen. The best thing you could do is say, I don't know how I'm going to take care of all of this right now, but I can move forward on these things. And I was going to say, if you're going to take anything that you're going to bring into that awareness, make sure it's an element that is actually driving things forward, not just busy work, not just stuff. You got to have some elements in there that if you're going to narrow it down to that one thing you're going to focus on, let's make sure it's a thing that's moving this machine forward. Because you can easily say, I'm going to focus on all this other stuff, and it just might be busy work, busy things, stuff just that just take time. But you get focused on the right stuff. You got to keep the machine moving forward, keep you moving forward. But your health, say, hey, look, I'm not making it to the gym. I mean, I'm doing it right now, Matt. I could put all these crazy goals and be going like, I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to get my gym membership this year. And I literally had to step back and say, what is it that I can do for my health right now? And there'll be some videos being posted. You might see some roaming around of my home gym that I made because I had to create an environment and something that was like, how can I accidentally get the health that I need in the fitness levels that I want to be working at and what I need to be doing, and not have the goal be the health, but not have it be the things that are holding me back and that are roadblocks for me, and sit there and say, we're going to eliminate those, but we got to keep moving forward. I got to keep this machine moving forward. And yeah, we'll be sharing some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there it is, guys. Like, take a look at your goals, give yourself an honest conversation around like, am I spreading myself across too many things? And how do I prioritize this so that I can knock out the most important goal, which will make the other ones even easier to accomplish?
So with that being said, I want to say thank you, Matt. I think this was great just to kind of break this down. And actually it's fun because every time we do this, I think a lot of people think that this is all scripted out and then we've got all this mapped out and all these things. Matt and I literally have a conversation about 5 minutes beforehand and we go like, what about this and this and that? And then we just roll. And so it was fun, this one, because I literally, as I was going through, was writing notes for myself, kind of going like, oh, I want to look at it that way as we go forward here. And so you were actually part of a real live brainstorming session for, I guess it was me internally.
And me too. This is helpful. You're part of it. Always helpful, right? There's another reason why we do this podcast. We love delivering value to all of you guys, but it also helps us as well. I mean, we talked the other day about getting in practice, doing the reps, getting better. And like, we get better at podcasting by doing podcasting. Talking about business helps us get better at business. Same thing for you guys too. Putting in those reps makes a big difference.
This is how I process information. A lot of people don't know I'm extremely auditory. So hearing Matt and hearing myself talk is like, Matt puts up with me so much because I'll call and just start going. And my wife too, by the way. She's like, she told me years ago, she goes, I understand that you just need to process. So I just have to let you talk out loud. This podcast is brilliant, Matt. It just allows me to process information is all it is. I want to say thank you to everybody. If you want to check out what we are doing or you want to be a part of what we're doing, as Matt said at the very beginning, we have a starter membership you can be a part of for $10 a month. We also have an amazing group. It's a group coaching element called the 11 Circle. You can come and join us in there. We have the people and the talent and the energy that's coming into that group right now, Matt, is absolutely amazing.
It is.
And I'm excited to see as that is growing and the words aren't coming to me right now, but I want to say, if you want to be a part of that, come join us in there. Go to Life at 1010. You'll find the 11 Circle. And with that being said, Matt, I want to say thank you to you. Thank you to everybody else out there listening.
Thank you, sir. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.